Hello, this is Daniel Raymond, the voice behind Ray's Guide. I was watching a recent Siege of Orison video from Sis and Kate, and I noticed she had a frustrating time because of the limitations of the Tier 3 medical beds in the health clubs.
Wait. Oh, this one can't treat a Tier 1.
And it was identical to the experiences that I have had. She had substantial serious Tier 2 plus injuries, but the Tier 3 bed could only treat the symptoms, not actually helping the action-limiting injuries, making the retreat back to the hospital, either the realistic way or the backspace express, put the player so far behind the action that it was decidedly not fun. Now, that the health club only has a Tier 3 bed makes perfect sense. After all, it would be there to handle strains, sprains, and bruises, not battle trauma. And having a full medical clinic with a Tier 1 bed would put the event too much on easy mode and still not solve the real problem. And that is that there's no way to push a Tier 3 bed into making seriously injured characters battle ready again. Which makes the Tier 3 bed pretty much useless, because Tier 3 injuries can be ignored, and once you are past that to Tier 2, the Tier 3 bed is pretty much no better than using a med gun. And then that also applies to the ship, with just Tier 3 beds, the Cutlass Red. And broadly regarded now as about the most pointless ship in the verse because of those same Tier 3 beds. But you say it was meant to be an ambulance to carry the injured to someplace with a better capability. But with the current medical system, an Aurora and a med gun functions just as well as an ambulance. And thinking on it further, I realized the frustrating experience in Siege of Orison would be orders of magnitude worse once we get to Pyro, when distances are much larger and med beds might be only available at Ruin Station or Reputation blocked at certain outposts. But there is another complaint with the current medical system that goes back to when it was first introduced. And that is that with the current beds and guns, they're so quick and so automatic and no actual skill ever involved, and thus no reason to feel or play like you actually are a medical character. Or to put it another way, the new relay system is going to make it possible to fancy yourself being a Scotty.
I can't give you warp 9 much longer, Mr. Spock. These engines are beginning to show signs of stress.
But with the current medical system, is there any real reason to point to fancy yourself being a McCoy?
I'm a doctor, not an engineer.
Sure, you can run around with a med gun, heal people, and do medical missions, but so does anybody. So to recap my 4 criteria. First, to improve the utility of Tier 2 and Tier 3 med beds when having to deal with more serious battle injuries. Second, to still maintain the superiority of the Tier 1 med bed over the Tier 2 and the Tier 2 over the Tier 3. Third, to have an actual career gameplay for medical. It should be more complicated than point and shoot, but no more require actual medical knowledge than mining requires actual geology knowledge. And finally, to not replace anything in the current medical system, including actor status, injury effects, devices, beds, regeneration, and death of a spaceman. Much as I would love to replace the regeneration mechanism, I'm going to keep this idea simpler than that. So let's look at a chart of the current system. We have injury level, medbed level, and what is possible at the intersection of the two. In Area A, the medbed can operate autonomously and quickly and gives a full healing. In Area B, the medbed still operates autonomously and quickly, but only gives symptomatic relief. Now, what I am suggesting is that Area B also be given an operator mode, which is not autonomous, needing a second character like this.
But I'm a doctor, not a botanist.
And definitely not instant. Now, some will say having to wait while somebody operates on you is boring. But let me ask you, more boring than have to go back all the way to the hospital, get out, get re-equipped, get to the ship terminals, claim your ship, get into the ship, fly back to where the action was happening? Yeah, we can burn some minutes and still be way ahead in the less wasted time category. So obviously the doctor character operates using that display at the foot of the medbed. But how should it look and work? Well, my idea is that it starts with an overall health display of the patient, and then the operator selects the body area, head, torso, arm, or leg, that they are going to work on, and then it zooms into that body area. The healthy areas will appear white, and the Tier 3 injuries would appear as areas of pink, but those are of little concern since any medbed can heal those accurately and automatically. Tier 2 injuries will appear as areas of bright red, which again could be healed automatically on a Tier 2 bed, but will need to be reduced on a Tier 3 bed. Tier 1 injuries would appear deep red, almost black, and they would need manual operations on any but Tier 1 beds. There is then an intensity slider which controls how the surgical system will operate, ranging from most gentle to most aggressive. And then there's a gauge of the total systemic stress that the patient is under, ranging from minimal to critical. Stay at critical for more than a moment and...
He's dead, Jim.
Now, as you might guess, the more aggressive you make the setting, the larger the area and the more shades are lightened with each time you click on a spot. But also more the stress gauge moves towards the critical level, which eventually might force you to stop and let the stress reduce either with drugs or with time. The drugs would be the same drugs that we use currently to heal symptoms on that body part. And then, of course, you might also have to use the blood drug level reducing medicines. So it is complicated enough to be a real gameplay without actually needing medical knowledge. Now, once the areas have been reduced to the point where the medbed can handle it the rest of the way, then an auto button will be enabled, and you can select that to complete the process. Now, an open question would be whether it would be possible to have NPC medics under this system.
Please state the nature of the medical emergency.
And my inclination is yes.
Create a diversion!
This isn't part of my program. I'm a doctor, not a doorstop.
However, CIG has said that NPC crew would always be less effective than player crew. In this case, I would take it to be the NPC doctor would always be slower because, well, they're being very cautious, let's say. But the bottom line, it means that a player wanting to actually be a medical player in a Cutlass Red with those 2 Tier 3 beds would actually be a useful thing to a small Pyro military fleet. Not as useful as an Apollo or Endeavor, of course, which large operations would certainly prefer, but not pointless, particularly for the smaller fleet. It actually lets the Cutlass Red be the entry-level ship into the medical profession, which is what it was promised to be when it was sold to us. Now for an update on our Grow the Channel ship giveaway. As of recording, we are at 84% of the subscriber goal and 76% of the membership goal to give to some lucky player their choice of the Anvil Liberator, the ship shipping ship for shipping your ships, or the Misk Odyssey long-length look-ahead launcher lorry. 1 entry per video. Members, you're entered automatically, and if the winner is a member as of the publication date of the winning video and at the drawing time, remember that if you've let your membership expire, they will win both the Liberator and the Odyssey. For non-members, just subscribe and comment with the secret word. And the secret word for this video is what the Cutlass Red was initially promised to be. Fly safe, keep it real, and I'll see you in the verse. This is Danny Raymond for Raise God.